Hello, everyone. I am coming to you live from exile on the first floor because other people are downstairs, and therefore I didn't want to record around them because that's awkward. So you can see behind me not some games, a couple of games actually. Oh, look at that! Look at that! And then a bunch of books. So here, and then also a Hades Town poster. This is the kind of secondary game storage area. So if that's not making you dizzy, this is my balding head. And that's a bunch of books, and that's where I'm coming to you from. So there we go. Without any further ado, oh no, I do have further ado. My apologies. Um, Before I get into the 10 here, I do have to make a formal apology to Rich because I said when I was talking about Baron Park that Rich stole it away from me when he bought it from Melissa. He says, "Your followers keep harassing me because they think I snatched Baron Park away from you." Um, and so apparently my legion of devoted fans has been harassing Rich. That's actually incorrect. Melissa is the one who bought it from Rich and therefore stole Baron Park away from me. So to my legion of devoted fans, please stop harassing Rich and DM me for Melissa's address so you can continue to do the same. Well, okay, so now without any further ado, this is 70 through 61, and this is, there's several games on this 10 that for a reason I just don't own, I'll talk about them when I get to them. And first of all, let's talk about number 70, which is new to the list, and it is kind of a deck builder, and that is Fine Sand. See, look, this is very convenient to do it here, because this is where I normally keep it anyway. Fine Sand is by Friedemann Friese. Fun fact, all of Friedemann Friese's games start with the letter F. Power Grid is actually Funkenschlag because he designs and he's a German guy. But anyway, Fine Sand is a kind of a campaign game, and I've played this a lot and only with Herb and Kane and Amy. And in this game, you have four different little actions you can do, and you have this deck of cards that you're working with, and through your deck of cards, you are trying to get rid of all of them. So when you play them from your hand, they leave your deck, and they increase the different actions you can do. So maybe you want to build extra cards, maybe you want to draw more cards, maybe you want to discard more cards so you can draw cards at the end, maybe you want to increase your hand limit. It's a take on deck building that some people call deck deconstruction that is fascinating. It includes, it's not really expansion so much as there's all these different decks that can help you change the game up a little bit. So you can kind of play through the whole game and it's kind of like kind of a campaign. Anyway, this is a really great game. Really simple, really fascinating. Highly recommended. Moving on to number 69, which is new to the list, and that is Trails. So, Trails, this is why Parks is no longer on the list, because of the game Trails. This is kind of a re-implementation of Parks, but instead it's much smaller and much quicker. And what you're trying to do is go along the path, and you have these various different path spots that you go to, and you get resources or you take pictures. You do things like that, and then over the course of the game, this one over the course of the game, night falls, and once it's completely night, then the game's over, and you have these nice little night spots of the national parks too. Beautiful game, plays super quickly. You're trying to collect these various different cards by getting the resources, and I love it. It's so much better than Parks, in my opinion. Parks is a good game, but it takes too long for what it is. This kind of distills down, in my opinion, the best parts of Parks, which is going along that little trail, and makes it a better game. So, also there are some realistic resources for this one, which I need to get because you have like leaves and acorns and pebbles or rocks, and the cute little acorns. I need to pick those up maybe next time I'm at a convention. So, highly recommend it. That is Trails. And new to the list, number 68 is a game that is not new to the list. It was 45 last time, and it's another deck building game. And this is one of the few games on my list, not the only one and not the highest one, Maybe it is the highest one. That is solo only. This is Friday, which is also by Freedom and Freeze. Um, Friday is a game where you are playing as Friday from Robinson Crusoe, and essentially you are trying to help Robinson Crusoe survive. He starts with a certain amount of food. He starts with a certain deck of cards, and then you add the deck of cards as the game goes along. And so you start off with things you might have to do things like exploring the island, and then once you've done that, you flip it over, and this gets added to the deck, and you can repeat one of your card actions. There's things like food. You start with this deck of cards, and this is some of the fun things. So like positive numbers are good in this game. So like here's Robinson Crusoe when he's focused, and that's good. Here's him when he's distracted. Where's here's him when he's very stupid. So you add these cards to the deck and try to improve the deck and survive the game. It comes with different levels you can play it at. I think I'm playing at level 3 maybe, but not level 4. But yeah, really fun game. One of my go-to games if I just want a solo game to play in the evening and like think some, but not a ton, because it's a deck builder and I love deck builders. So the next one here, number 67, is new to the list, and this is Trajan. I do not own Trajan. Trajan is by Stefan Feld. This is not the highest Stefan Feld game on the list. Stefan Feld is well known for point salad, as in you do every turn you do an action, it's going to give you some victory points. If you do certain actions in certain ways, you're going to get more victory points and then you win the game, but everything gives you victory points. That's kind of what he's known for. The twist on this one that I really like from some of his other games is there's a Mancala effect, meaning you take your pieces out of one of these little bowls that are on your board and you drop one in each of the other little bowls. Wherever you end, that's the action that you do. If you use certain colors in certain ways, you can get some bonuses, but it adds that extra layer of thinking. It's almost like a spatial reasoning. And I like Mancala. It's not on the top 100, but it's a good game. And I like that this game reminds me of that and kind of takes that mechanism. So that is 67, Trajan. Moving on, number 66 was number 78 last year, so roughly the same. I don't know that I've played it since then. This is a game I do own, and you've been looking at it this whole time. It is Firefly, the game. If you like the TV show Firefly, you will love this game. If you don't like the TV show Firefly, or if you've never seen it, you'll think, this is kind of a weird game. I don't really get it. In this game, you take a ship, you play as a captain, so you have a character, you hire a crew, and you try to do jobs and make your way across the Firefly universe. So, giant board, and all of the characters that you know and love are in the game, at least all the crew of the Serenity. There are several expansions which I don't have, but as a base game, it's still just fantastic. The expansions are also good. Played this game a lot with Jonathan. When I play this game with Amy, which we haven't played in a long time, we need to play it again. She gets very frustrated with me because I tend to hire a lot of crew and then I don't care if they get killed off. Whereas she has a much softer heart and is very protective of her crew. But really, they're there to like serve my ends. So I think I'm playing much more of a mercurial captain. So yeah. If you've never seen Firefly, you should do that. But I don't recommend the game because honestly, it's so much of it is just appreciating like how that world works. Anyway, that is number 66, Firefly. Number 65, I do not own. It was number 20 last year, so that's a bit of a drop, and that's just because I simply haven't played it. That is Bonanza, which is from my favorite board game designer, Uwe Rosenberg. It's a small little card game where you are growing beans and selling them. The fascinating thing about this game is that when you add new cards to your hand, you always add them in the same place because you cannot rearrange your hand. And that's weird. So what you want to do sometimes is get cards out of your hand that you aren't going to be able to play by trading them to other players who might want them. So it's a negotiation game. It is not super quick, but it plays fairly quickly. And this is a game that I think does work as a gateway game. It's a little bit weirder than it appears at first because you can't move your cards in your hand. But once you wrap your mind around that side of it, it's not just a gimmick. Like that's the main pull of the game. I do want to own this game, and then maybe I'll play it more and it'll go higher, like it was 20 last time. They're coming out with a new edition, so I kind of want the new edition. Although maybe I'll just pick up an old edition for cheap. Who knows? Number so that was Bonanza. Number 64 was 32 last year, so it's fallen by twice as much. Which I don't know what that means. Probably nothing. Some people are going to say that this is far too low on the list and it should be much higher. This is Wingspan, which has sold over 1 million copies now and is an extremely popular game and is basically going mainstream. Oh no, there's some loose birds in here. Oh well, at least we've got some fun ones to show. In this game, you have boards. You're playing birds on those boards. You're taking actions to lay eggs, to draw more birds, to get food, to pay for birds. It's all about birds. The main thing here is that every single card is different. So look at that fat guy right there. That's the American Woodcock. It's the only card in the deck that is the American Woodcock. Here's another one, the Black Skimmer, or David Schwimmer, as I like to call him. Yeah, we have a couple expansions for this. This is one of the cards from the Kakapo? Oh, what a name. From the Oceania expansion. It's a great expansion as well. Oh, look at this guy. This is the Musk Duck. This duck's musky odor comes from a gland on its rump, not the hanging lobe of skin under its bill. That doesn't make me like the duck anymore. Why does it have that hanging lobe of skin? So anyway, that bird notwithstanding, there's a lot of really awesome birds in this game. Combinations work in really cool ways, and it's extremely popular, which is very cool that pardon me, that a complicated game like that is going so mainstream. Big fan of that game. I was going to say something that'll spoil something. I'll say it anyway. Not the highest game on my list from that designer, Elizabeth Hargrave. So there you go. And wherever you go, there you are. Number 63, I do not own. It was number 92 last year. Don't know why it's gotten higher. Maybe because I've actually won at the game now. But that is Eclipse. Eclipse is a space epic. I still haven't played Twilight Imperium, which is widely considered to be the space epic. But Eclipse, you have a civilization, like a race of aliens. Yours works in a unique way. And then you expand. It's a 4X game. Expand, exploit, whatever, exterminate. I don't know. You're attacking people. You're just discovering all these different technologies. You're exploring the galaxy. It's really hard, really complicated, and really cool. Highly recommend it. The second edition appears to be really neat. I don't own it. I haven't played that version yet. Shut Up and Sit Down did a review of that is really great. Highly recommend you check it out if you have any interest. That is Eclipse. Number 62 was number 50 last year, so pretty similar. And that is Ethnos. Ethnos is a fantastic game that does suffer from a couple of things. One of them being the player colors, which okay, yes, black, love playing as black, but this pink, this lime green, this white, come on, what's going on here? It's not even so much that these are bad colors, but they don't really fit with the aesthetic. So you have this board, and you're playing as all of these fantasy races, and you're trying to play these cards to put your influence out in the various different regions, and thereby get some and get points at the end of each round. The art is by John Howe, who's one of the famous Lord of the Rings artists. And I really like the art. Like, look, there's a halfling. Some people complained about it, about the art. That is, there's an elf. What else we got here? There's a wing folk. Um, the art doesn't really fit the pieces, which is kind of weird. But the game is so good, and it plays up to 6, and that is big because so many of these games do not support that many players. It plays up to 6 and plays them well. Uh, every time you play, you can play with a different arrangement of the different animals. I think there's or races. I think there's 12 different races in here. Um, yeah, there's 12 of them. And you play with 6 of them at any given point. So that's just an incredible amount of variation. Um, yeah. Moving on. That was Ethnos number 62. Number 61 was 33 last year. This is a game I've only ever played once. I hope to play it again at some point, but it is Inis. It looks like it's Innis, but I believe it's spelled Inis. Inis is a game where you are trying to win via different area control things, like either have your guys in a bunch of different areas, or control some areas, or control some of these buildings that are on the board. You do this by drafting cards and then taking actions. It's not very simple, it's pretty complicated, but one of the really cool things is when you are about to win, you have to say, hey, I am about to win, and then other people can stop you. Almost like Uno, which is funny for a game of this like depth, but it works in a really weird way because you're like, I'm threatening a win next turn, or right now I have done this win condition. You have to maintain that until the end of the next turn, and then if you do, you win. But it just allows for a really interesting thing at the table where you really cannot like sneak a win in some way, and you have to apprise the other people of what your plans are, basically. Um, Really cool. Wish I'd played it again. My friend who has this moved away, um, but yeah, someday I'm gonna play this again. My memory of it is very good, as in it was a very good game, but my memory of it is fading. So that is 61 Inish. Now, that's the end of the top 10, and clearly I've taken way too much time on this video. But thanks for joining me, and stay tuned. And next time I'll probably be back at my dining room table, unless I get exiled again. Thanks. Bye.